How did you get that, Tony?
I went up to the merch table at Overland of America, and
Yeah,
I said, "Hey, I need one of those."
they had it there, huh?
Yeah, I got in trouble because I didn't have the forethought to get two of them.
Uh-oh. So you
And,
got one and your wife does not have one.
and
That's
since
Big
I'm an only
mistake.
child, I'm not sharing. So
Did you get the speech about you don't ever think of me and I'm just over here and you always look for yourself and
no,
uh,
no,
my
my
legs are broke so I can't walk up to the table myself, but you were
I,
there and
I don't recall it being an actual speech.
oh yeah?
I got all of that through a look.
Was
Just
it it was a beat down just through a look,
a,
pretty much. Okay. Well, that's good. Well, hey everyone, we are live on the Overland podcast. Thank you for joining us. We'll have some people that join on here. We just went live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So we should have people joining us here in just a little bit. For years, we have traditionally been a vehicle based uh, podcast, but recently we've done a few things. We've spread our wings and talked about a lot of different things. I've had some backpackers on here, some bike packers, different people, but it's all about moving overland, whether it's with your feet, whether it's with 2 wheels, 4 wheels, 6 wheels, a holler. Everybody for the podcast, stand up and hold. But anyway, we've been spreading our wings, and it's pretty cool. And we actually camped beside Tyler at Overland of America a few weeks ago, and got to visit with him just a little bit. We were both kind of busy, but wanted to have him on because wanted to talk to someone who's living the life, but also has ventured into a small business that's kind of growing into a medium-sized, almost large business. It's
Yeah,
really
fingers
become
crossed.
something. Yeah, it's become cool. And I mean, not that it didn't start out cool, but it has become something that everybody's really taken a hold of and kind of grasped on to. So, Tyler, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Sure. So I grew up in Missouri, outside of a little town just outside of Joplin called Carl Junction, and spent my childhood there. My family and I are in Springfield, Missouri now, so not too far down the street, but a couple of hours. And we've been here since 2008. So I'm proud to
Yeah.
call it home. Right at the top of the Ozarks. You guys are a little bit more toward the middle bottom end
Hmm.
of the Ozarks, but we all
Hmm.
share that really great area there in northern Arkansas and southern Missouri, and so we really enjoyed it here, and for the time being, plan to stay around
Yeah,
travels and everything like that.
that's cool. I love the top end of the Ozarks. Don't get up there much. I'm on Tony's like to the west of them, and I'm like to the south of them.
Yeah,
And but don't get up to the north end. But I love it up there. When we go up there and ride through like right on the Missouri Arkansas line, it seems to be a lot different than it is down where we are. A lot of
yeah,
really
there's some
nice rivers that you can float, and it's a cool
for
place.
sure. I think of lakes. Like
Lakes,
you get
yeah,
to the Missouri Arkansas border, just some of the best lakes in the country. Honestly, people come from
yeah,
all over to visit those. And there's some good wheeling too, which is fantastic lake camping and other types of water sports, rivers, like you mentioned. It's one of the best for that.
yeah, exactly. What what started a love for the outdoors for you? Where did all that come from? How'd that start?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't feel like a traditionalist in that sense. I mean, I grew up, in the 80s and 90s and stuff, and being outside was kind of just the norm, I guess
Hmm.
for a child. So I wouldn't say I really fell in love with the outdoors until I got a little bit older, late teens, almost early 20s, and started really discovering like the aspect of the outdoors that is adventure. And so, things and covering a lot of ground. And I didn't really have, that opportunity until my early 20s and then into, the rest of adulthood. So that was really what did it for me, the adventure side.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you
nice.
now I see in the background there, I love your background. Okay, so I'm a guitar guy, so I noticed a Breedlove acoustic,
Yeah, exactly.
Les Paul electric. So I'm guessing you're a guitar player.
Yeah, I am. Had both of those for a long time. The Breedlove is actually the first. It was like a college purchase. I'm sure you had some of those.
Got one
Playing
sitting right
guitar.
here. It's got Taylor on it.
Yeah, I think my wife and I are both happy that I had that hobby like as a real focus in college because it was a struggle, and so I've just got a couple of nice guitars that I really love. If I would have taken it up now in adulthood, I think I'd have a room full. But I
Yeah,
just didn't have the means at that time to do that, and it kind of protected
yeah,
me. But yeah, I got the Gibson and the Breedlove, and those are both great. I got a Stratocaster just around the corner that you can't see, and
nice.
um, I wish I played them more. Uh, I did put them out because they used to be in cases, and
Mm,
I found that I do reach for them a lot more
yeah,
when they're out, but still not nearly as much as you think you will. You know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. You're right. I'm the same way. I started late in life, and I actually am what you feared if you would have started late. I actually
okay.
had a huge collection and was able. This is how much I had invested. I had two guitars I was able to sell and buy a Harley Davidson. So I had a lot invested in guitars, and
Good
so that
grief.
was yeah, I know
Achievement
it's
unlocked.
yeah,
Yeah, that's impressive.
and it's had a Taylor custom walnut 12 string that I could have sold and bought a truck for. It was just absolutely insane. It was, but
Wow.
yeah, I totally get down to. I'm down to just two. I have a 1976 bass. It's a really, really old bass, and then I have my Taylor guitar, and I love that I have uh, decided not to keep them in the case because you're right. You reach for them more when they're out. I used to keep them in the case because I was always taught you want to keep them in a controlled environment, with less humidity and things like that, and they'll last longer and things like that. But
Yeah,
if it's in the case, it's out of sight, out of mind, and
for
I just
sure. And
I like it here.
with instruments, it's really the same with vehicles. My wife and I have kind of adopted this mantra in our family that we don't buy shrines. And
Yeah,
all we mean by that is that like you use the stuff that you buy. And the more I ever got into music or even like looking at vehicles, same deal. You start to appreciate that patina. The
mm,
the guitar you typically reach for the most often is the one that's beat up a little bit that you play at
yeah,
a time. It's really comfortable. It may not sound perfect, but it's got some character to it. And
yeah,
uh, and so I'm a big believer in that. Yeah, leave them outside,
yeah,
play
and
them.
and
That's what makes them great.
it's also like our rigs. You develop a relationship with it, and it means more when you spend that time with it, put that time into it. So,
That's
speaking of
right.
rigs, I know you're a Jeep guy. How did you fall into that trap? I mean, how did you uh, become a Jeep guy? Sorry, I threw that in there for Tony.
You know
Um,
what? I heard the dig. Honestly, oddly enough, I don't really consider myself a Jeep guy. Actually, um,
okay.
I do. I love my Jeep. I've got a Wrangler, a JL, had a JK before that. I do love the fact that it's like this vehicle that can do all the things. So, when I saw you guys last, it was outfitted with my tent and awning and
Hmm.
camping stuff in the back and all that. But I'm just as likely to strip all that stuff off, put the fridge in the back and all of our mountain biking stuff and go do that for a weekend. Or, we traveled across the country just a few weeks ago and it was stacked full of bags and snacks and stuff. Or hiking backpacks or anything like that. So I love that aspect of it. And there's few things that are as utilitarian as that. And honestly, I love taking the top off in the summer and having that whole vibe
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
And there's just very few vehicles where you can do all those things.
Yeah.
The new Broncos are coming close in
mm,
in a lot of ways, and that's kind of cool. There's some older cars that are really cool. Some of the older Broncos, or even the Forerunners where the back comes off. That's kind of cool.
hmm,
Mhm.
Um, but that's what draws it to me. My wife, we've got her daily drivers the Lexus GX 460, so totally love the Toyota side as well. Those are great, fantastic cars, especially for a lot of cross country miles or something. So we're kind of middle of the road, not a hardcore Jeep guy,
yeah.
just like a lot of the features.
You need one of those license plates on the front that says "House Divided" and has Jeep and Toyota on one side.
Oh yeah, it'd be perfect. Yeah.
We've got several people that have joined us on Instagram, and we won't see those comments when they pop up here. But Justin Williams asks, "Are you and Jada making it to a rendezvous? Is that something that's on your calendar?"
We're not. Is that this weekend or next
It's
weekend?
not this coming, but next. Yes.
No, we're not going to make it. I would love to. I've actually never been, and we meant to this year. We were at, of course, Overland of America. We're trying to do a lot of stuff too with the national park system, and so we were just at an event last week doing that, talking to those guys and trying to get in those stores and kind of create a special opportunity or moment for folks that are visiting and camping or whatever with the badge product. And then this weekend we're headed to Maris Adventure for a special event down there, and those basically 4 weeks in a row. Can't, we've got a family as well. So Rendezvous is going to have to wait this year. We had to do the same thing for Big Iron, which we enjoyed a lot last year, but weren't able to make it this year. Same time. Seems like the fall and spring both are just filling up with events, which is great for the community, but it's hard to make it to everything. Whereas used to a few years ago, you could basically go to all of it.
Right. Yeah. And that's so true.
That's right.
The best time of the year for us is the end of heat and the beginning of fall when it starts to cool off, when you actually want to get out and go camping. And it seems like there's an event every single weekend. And you just kind of have to pick and choose. So I love that you're getting involved with the national parks. And I want to talk about that here in just a little bit when we get into the All Roads Taken part of this. But travel is such a huge part of this lifestyle, and I've noticed on your Instagram that y'all have done quite a bit of traveling. There's so many places in the world. Tell us about a few places that you have visited that it should be on everybody's bucket list.
Okay, sure. We have it's sort of cliche, but I have to say it anyway because it's always been a special place for us, and that is southwestern Colorado. That was sort of our introduction to adventure vehicles, right? So this whole overlanding kind of thing or off-roading. We had some friends that got us into it. We had our first Jeep, and we went straight out to southwestern Colorado, which is kind of like jumping in the deep end. In terms of beautiful places to go. In many ways, hard to top the views that are there. And so we've loved that Telluride, Ouray, Silverton type area.
I love that area.
And there's a lot of people there, and that at this point isn't very adventurous, but it was for us initially. And I think for a lot of folks, it's a great entry point because you've got so many towns there, and you can wheel all day, but still have the security of an Airbnb or a hotel or something at night if you're not yet comfortable planning a more backcountry trip. And it's just a really fantastic, beautiful place to experience it. Great hiking there too. So we've been traveling. Most of the miles that we've covered have been as a family, and that's been our goal. And overlanding as a family is not nearly as friendly as overlanding as an individual or as a couple.
Yeah.
And so, that's a place that is really family friendly because of the accommodations, because of the, food availability or just different, things that may or may not happen while you're out. It's a great spot for it. There's really good hiking there too, which we find is a nice mix up for overlanding. The kids get tired of wheeling all day, but if you can add some hikes in there, makes a huge difference.
Get them out. Get them outside. Yeah.
We love that area. If I was to ask my kids, their favorite place that we've been so far was Southern California. I've worked remote for a long time in my day job, and been in the software space. And so we've had a little bit of flexibility there where we could kind of travel longer term, and I can work really from anywhere. And, props to those who can get that opportunity for themselves. It's worked out very well for us, and we really tried to take advantage of it. But we had an opportunity to go out to Southern California for a little while in the pit of winter here, which you guys are aware of. Kind of that February period is the worst spot. You're out of the holidays. It's not yet spring. A lot of times it's wet and cloudy. So we went out there and spent a few weeks, and the kids loved it. And there's fantastic overlanding and wheeling and all of that. You know, you head out to Anza Borrego. There's a ton of
Mhm.
trails in the San Diego area, which is where we were at. You can head up to like Big Bear and Joshua Tree, and it's all just right there in kind of a couple of hours.
Mm.
One of the best apple pies you'll ever eat in your life. Thanks to Marco
Mhm.
Hernandez, who kind of
Yeah.
initially showed that. But Julian Pie Company. Oh my gosh, you can actually order one. They will overnight you a pie from there, and I do it every year for my birthday. Very reasonable, and they don't even freeze it. They overnight the whole pie in this big foam container, like next
Wow.
day, and it's the best
Wow.
thing in the world. Yeah, like $50 or something, you know, which is amazing. So
Julian Pie Company, huh?
Julia Pico, yeah, not a sponsor, no affiliation, just the
Yeah.
best
Just
pie in
love
the
the
world.
pies.
Yeah,
Those are the best
but that
ones.
that area is cool. And for families, again, I really hype that up because you get the beach and you get that whole
Mm,
vibe. And San Diego's a great town to explore as a family.
it is. Old
And
Town's
coming
pretty
into
cool.
the yeah, for sure. And
Yep.
coming into the desert, did you ever watch Magic School Bus as a kid, or did your kids watch that
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
chance? So driving from the coast into the desert is like being in a Magic School Bus episode about ecosystems because you start at the beach, you head into that kind of brushy post beach California scrub, you head up into the mountains and the trees and kind of dense forest. And then when you cross over the edge of the mountains and drop down into the vast basin that is the Anza Borrego Desert, it's immediately arid and dry and stuff. And you get
Mm,
to condense that into like a 90-minute drive, which for kids, and I mean for me, I'm kind of a nerd about that too, is like being in a Magic School Bus episode. It's all just so condensed there. So we loved California. We love the desert. Um, that's definitely been one. And then one that really surprised us, and this will be my last. I'll give you three, but we did about a 6,700 and some mile road trip last summer from Missouri up to through the Dakotas up to Lake Glacier, over to Washington, down through
mm,
Oregon, through
mm,
Yellowstone, Tetons, and came back. Epic road trip. We've been trying to hit all 50 states with our boys. So if it seems like we're
mm.
swinging wide for those
Yeah.
trips, it's on
Yeah.
purpose,
Yeah.
And the Dakotas, like South Dakota, was like
South Dakota, real cool.
over delivered. We
Yeah.
we were expecting, to be a stop and have some fun there on the way to Glacier, but we wish we could have stayed there so much longer.
Yeah.
Custer State Park area, the
Hmm.
Black Hills,
Yeah.
just fantastic. I feel like there's a tremendous amount of wheeling and exploring and hiking and stuff that you could do there that we'd love to go back and do. So definitely loved it there. And I know I said I'd do three, but I'll do four. The last one would just be Idaho, like northern Idaho. We stayed a few days in Coeur
Mm,
d'Alene on that trip. Didn't get to explore nearly as much as we wanted to there either. Just trying to keep the schedule and get the miles in and cover the places. But absolutely beautiful area. I'd never been there
mm.
before either, and it's forest as far as the eye can see. Every tree almost looks fake because they're so perfect. Every tree is
Yeah.
perfect on the
Yeah.
mountainside, and there's a tremendous amount of public land. So
Yeah.
I'm going to get this stat wrong, but I think Idaho's something like 80% public land or state-owned
It's in
land.
the top 3, I think, in the United
Yeah, so
States.
you can
Yeah.
explore just almost everywhere, which is such
Mm,
a cool thing for folks that are into what we're into. So
that's
Yeah, I've
cool.
never been to Idaho. It's high on my
Uh,
list.
mine too. And
Yeah.
we're going next summer. That's you almost described to a T. The only state my wife lacks ever been to is North Dakota. So we're going to have to swing wide to go to North Dakota and then go right across the top. And we're going to Oregon and Washington, doing all that next summer.
directionally, I don't know which way you're planning on going, but do you know about the North Dakota thing?
I don't. Well,
So,
I don't guess I
so,
know about the North Dakota thing.
so North Dakota is actually well known now in the community of people that have figured out they want to do all 50 states for being the quintessential last state, and
Really?
they've got a big marketing push about it. Yeah,
I'll be no.
it's there's not enough to do there that there's been a much of a draw, so they really embodied that, and their
Huh.
whole thing now is being the last state to visit. So
Oh, that's awesome.
your wife's done it right. Yeah, that's exactly
That's
what they
funny.
want. The
I
period on the
was
end of the
there.
list.
I was there probably 7, 8 years ago. We rode our motorcycles to Sturgis, and we had a free day, so we just took off and rode straight north. Went to the North Dakota sign, took a picture of the sign, and turned around, and came back. So I've been to the sign, but I've never been in the state. That's it.
There you go.
And it was cold, and it was 1st of August, and we were freezing to death. So that's probably why people don't go up there much, is because their winters are like 10 months long.
Well, when you guys go together, there will be a ton of swag that you can get, T-shirts and all of it for like my last state was North Dakota.
Oh, that's
It's a big
awesome.
deal.
She will
Yeah.
love that. She will love that. So I like asking this to all of our guests. Oh, he's done got the pies brought up on his phone. That's hilarious.
Bro.
Can't order too many, man. Yeah, Dutch caramel apple is
Dutch
my
I was
caramel
going to
apple is
ask you
yours.
to.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the one you're in.
That's the birthday pie every year. Yeah.
It's a never-ending pies. It's
That's
insane.
awesome.
Julia
So
bought it.
as
I can't
as
even
far
try.
as travel goes, so if you had all the time in the world and money was no option, where would you go?
It's a big question. I feel like one of my talents is optimizing constraints. So
Yeah, mine
to
too.
have no constraints, a completely greenfield question. It's a big one. Um, I think probably one of the most cool things that I've seen folks do vehicularly. I've got two answers here. Vehicularly, it would be um, probably the Pan American. I think that's a really cool trip. You get the right rig.
Yeah.
You get to see a tremendously diverse, set of land, diverse set of cultures, people. A lot of the folks that I work with are in Central and South America, so being able to explore those countries in addition to what we've done in North America would be really cool. So Pan American probably would be my biggest target vehicularly right now, and I feel like I would be reasonably comfortable doing that. Where I don't think I would, I'd have to learn a lot to overland in Central Asia or something. I'm
Yeah,
not quite ready for that.
Yeah.
Number two, which has been on my bucket list, but we have to raise our kids first, is what Jada says, is I'd love to fly around the world in a single engine plane. Very small list of folks that have done that, and I just think that would be the coolest thing. So she was gracious enough to let me get my pilot's license a number of years ago, and it's always been on my list ever since. But I have to wait, again, until the kids are raised.
Wow.
It may quickly turn into the grandkids are raised after that too, but we'll see.
Oh, that's awesome. So, you have started that's great to get to know you, just a little bit better. A lot of people see you and meet you like we did at an event or something like that, camp next to you, sit down and visit with you. But as far as the ins and outs, being a pilot, playing the guitar, things like that, that's why we have this, so people can get to know you a little bit better,
You
and
bet.
and things like that. And that's so interesting and such a treat for us. So in your small business, you talk on your so when you go to your website,
Mhm.
you actually posted a thing on your Instagram about what to do. You go and register on the website, you and then the whole process starts. But when you do
Mhm.
that, when you register on the website, I immediately got a email, and in this email, it was very personal. I was very impressed with that. You introduce you and your family, talk about you and your wife, your two sons, and your dog. And
Mhm.
you tell about how all of this started, how All Roads Taken started in August of 22 on a trip back from Ouray, Colorado. So let's talk about how you came up with the idea. Where did this stem from? Take us conversation in the Jeep on the way home.
Sure. So, it really starts before that. That's the punctuation on the end of a process.
Okay.
We throughout our marriage have had this general kind of feeling that we wouldn't have been able to describe early on, but have learned over the years um, around this concept of adventure and how important it can be um, to individuals, to couples, to families to have some of in your life. It's an opportunity in an otherwise relatively easy world to be challenged and to discover yourself and create some isolation and have special moments together and test your limits to an extent. get to know yourself in a way that you won't be able to do kind of just coasting.
Mm.
And we discovered that early on. I had a couple of mentors that had really encouraged that as a way to know yourself and to self differentiate and kind of discover how you tick. And so we took some steps early on. We moved away from home, moved away from family, took some jobs that pulled us out into a brand new space. And in early 20s, folks, that's an adventure. It has nothing to do with the outdoors, but it's an adventure. It opens up this whole new world, and we really just piggybacked off of that for the rest of our lives up to this point, in trying to look for, identify, and choose adventure wherever we could, wherever it made sense,
Mm.
as a way to just keep exploring that side of ourselves. And so that's the backstory. That's taken shape in a number of different ways. Again, with jobs, with kids, that's an adventure in itself. Deciding to
No
go that
kidding.
path.
Yep.
Um, and then with this aspect of the outdoors. And what's so cool about adventure in the outdoors is that it has so many other side benefits. You get out into big spaces, you connect with each other. It's so much easier to connect with somebody over a campfire, or over an outdoor meal, sitting on top of a huge vista, looking over the world, and kind of make sense of yourself and your problems, than it is at a bar or something like that, right? So being able to get out and introduce those natural places into your life is like the icing on the cake of adventure, and that is really what motivated us to keep. We kind of see it this way: everybody's on some sort of spectrum with respect to like the amount of adventure in their lives. Some people are doing crazy stuff. A lot of the folks that we talk to at Overland events and stuff are actually pretty far on that spectrum to the right. They're doing pretty
Mhm.
crazy things, staying out for
Yeah.
weeks at a time. A lot of people are doing cool things. All Roads Taken is definitely about that. Wherever you're at, we'd like to push you a little bit more to the right, incorporate a little bit more adventure, take a chance and go someplace that you haven't been, as opposed to going back to the places that you always go. Like, get out there and see the world and appreciate it. On the other side of it, there's a lot of folks that never camped, or maybe are
Mm.
on the fence about getting a pop-up camper and hitting the state parks in their area. And we're just as excited about that, because that represents the same level of introduction of adventure and experience in the outdoors and time together, and just that whole context, as the folks that are heavy into multi-week overlanding and stuff. So
Mhm.
we wanted to provide something with All Roads Taken, or we didn't have a name for it then, but we were like, man, we would love to do something that just enables that, encourages that, maybe even breaks down the barrier of entry to that sort of space. The outdoors is hard to navigate, right? If you want to just get into overlanding, it's pretty easy to buy the gear. It's
Mm.
much more difficult to like take that first trip and understand how to plan. And, well, where can I can really just camp here, or I can't, or what can I do? Like, how do I take care of my trash? Like,
Yeah.
what trails can I go on? There's a lot of things that we know that we take for granted. So anything that we can do to ease all of that and encourage people to take one step from the left to the right in terms of their the amount of adventure in their life, and choose it a little bit more. That's what we want to do. So our life had grown up to that point. The conversation back from you, Ray, was we had kind of reached this decision point where, my boys are getting older. They're by no means raised, but they're 10 and 12. And you guys have been through that cycle. And so they're starting to differentiate more. They're doing some of their own things. Jada, who's not here tonight, but she runs the operational side, really all of the business day to day. And she's got so much capability and uh, tons of education and all of that. And we wanted to she was ready for something to do, right? She had loved being a mom at home, but wanted something to do. And it was just a perfect moment. Like, we've wanted to do this. We've wanted to introduce something really positive into the world. Jay is more than capable of doing it. Like, let's give it a shot. We love the idea of tracking your travel,
Mm.
which is obviously a core component of All Roads Taken, because it helps you appreciate the investment that you put into this. At least for me, I forget pretty quickly all the cool places that we've been. But when I look at that map, and I look at that log, and I see, oh my gosh, like, we've got 15 years of investment into this whole thing, and we've been some pretty cool places. It
Yeah.
helps me appreciate it and motivates me to do more.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to, provide like an encouragement mechanism for people that are just getting into it. And that's kind of where the badges came. We can talk about that a little bit more if you'd like to. But if I go to a state park, I've just got my new tent or my new camper or pop up or whatever. I go in and I realize, oh, I can collect all the badges for the state parks in my state. Well, that's 20% more, 15% more chance that we're going to get those folks motivated to get out there and do all of those things. That's perfect. And they look really good to boot. So, we kind of wanted to find just a motivator that connected to the rest of the platform and expose people to all these cool activities. So
Yeah.
2022 on the way home, it clicked. We decided to go for it. You guys have started businesses. I'm sure you know that there's always just a little bit of extra starting fluid that you need to kick those things over from idea phase into execution phase. And
Mhm.
so we found that moment and really tried to capitalize on it, and have been running ever since.
That's cool. Tony
Nice.
is the expert on running his own business. So I used to do that. It's not for me. I had my own business. I had like 2 or 3 at a time, and it was just not something that I enjoyed. I like working for people, and when I'm not there, I still get paid. So it's it's totally against my nature to have my own business. But Tony's in his
Mhm.
in his new studio back there. You're looking good, bro. You're looking good
Yeah.
in your
Looks
new
great.
studio. Yeah,
Yeah.
with your
Moved out to the garage.
and if you want to know what an all roads taken badge looks like, just look on Tony's microphone because he's got his Overland of America badge stuck on there for where everybody can see. So, well, it just I get most of my information from social media when I do the background of who I'm going to interview for the podcast, and so I go to
Sure.
website, Instagram, whatever. You have a ton of people tagging you in Instagram about their travels. It's really taken off, and it just seems like it was just yesterday that I went over to Matt McClellan's house to help him put a tent on his Gladiator, and he had all these badges on his Jeep, and I'm like, "What
Mm.
is that? Where'd you get all those from?" And then he posted a video about it, and then all of a sudden, boom! It's you're more expo, you're everywhere, and it's really taken off really fast. I've been super impressed with how people have embraced
Mm. Right.
Thanks. Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's been
That's great. Matt and Kara have been fantastic supporters, and what's cool about that is we've had some great conversations about it really early on, and I mean you guys know them well. They just get it, right? They get
hmm
this whole thing, and
yeah.
they get the importance of that adventure, and it means a lot to them. So we connected, just right from the beginning, and have been really really close ever since.
Well, on your website, it's real easy to navigate. You sign in.
Thanks.
You sign in with Google. It didn't take me 5 seconds, and I was in. And then you can choose your first badge, and then it's where you can join a community. And this is where I did not know this aspect was there. And I think there's a lot of people out there that see the badges and think the badges is what it is. They think that's all there is. But if you go to the website, it's so much more than that. It's all about the experience. It's the experience and the travels and how you can log that. And I really enjoyed that part of it. Looking at that.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And any suggestions that you can have for us to continue to share that message would be great. Honestly, it's sort of a you never want to complicate the message too much, So the badges are easy to talk about. The adventure log's a little bit harder because
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to navigate, but it's just a big concept, and it's not necessarily something that when you hear it for the first time you understand what it is. We've got really what we consider to be the initial version 1 of the adventure log out now, and if it's okay for me to talk about it, we're
Yeah,
working really
please.
hard on what we would consider to be version 2, really building off of that. So right now, there's the ability, and as Joey's kind of working through this now, you can add trails or national parks that you've been to, or states that you've been to, national forests, all sorts of things. Events like we did with Overland of America have been really popular and really important experiences for people. But the idea is that you can add all of those places that you've been and keep a record, right? That's version 1, is help me keep my stats of all the places that I've been. As we move into version 2, what we want to do, and this will be even harder to describe, so as you guys use it, I'd really love feedback, but what we want to do is help folks that are interested in that log then actually move to the next step, which is helping you tell your story. And so what you're doing as you travel is you're actually creating all these memories and stories and moments and important core things, right, in your life that you're tracking. And outside of social media, which is really a way to share that with the world, there are not a lot of good tools out there for you to really help you kind of share that with yourself and write that story for yourself. So we would like to experiment in that area and help folks start to think about their travel a little bit differently in that way, in a way that helps them as they're going along tell that story. I know storytelling is can be somewhat of a struggle. It can be a struggle for me.
Yeah.
But tools that help that, prompt you at the right time, give you the tools to organize your thoughts about your travel, whether it's like a moment, right? I may not know how to write an essay about my trip, but I can certainly gather a couple of photos that were really special to me in this moment. You know, I just went camping with my son. I guess it was a couple of months ago now, but we had this just amazing evening, and all alone out down by the Mulberry, actually, at this campsite that was I believe it was one of the ones listed on the Ozark Overland Adventure Trail. Actually, fantastic little campsite right on the Mulberry. My son and I had it to ourselves. We just had this beautiful evening, a swimming hole, made some dinner, all of that. That's a moment, right? Like this moment in time. Couple of pictures that I took while we were there, a little bit of a description, and to be able to package that up and put that in the adventure log, that's what we want to really enable next, right? To keep some of those core memories and stuff. Looking back a year or two, or even 6 months from now, that's really going to be what's special. On top of just keeping track of those places that we've been. So that's the direction that we like to head, and we'd like to make sure that we keep it multi-genre. So we want it to be just as easy to add hikes as it is to add trails that you wheeled, or states that you visited, or even cities that you got a burger in. People are tracking all kinds of different travel, and we're pretty dynamic on where we travel. I'm sure you guys are kind of the same way. We want it to be open for that kind of thing, and help you keep track of that story. So definitely look forward to that. Is it okay if I share a couple of other ideas that we're kind of throwing around?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
We don't want it to turn into social media. So being heavily community driven in the way that it starts to approach like a Facebook group, we don't want to push it in that direction, because there's just already great tools for that. Right. Facebook groups are fantastic tools for building little, small communities. We do get some requests to be able to connect, though, when you're out and you meet people, which I think would be cool. One little concept that we're working on right now that I'd love your feedback on is, what if you could get a badge for your vehicle? It would be custom to your vehicle. Maybe says the name of your vehicle. Put that on your vehicle with the combination of a QR code and an NFC tag. I've actually got a prototype on my desk now, where anybody that you meet when you're out can actually scan your tag and pull up your stats, right? Oh, this vehicle's been so many cool places. This is the badge wall for this vehicle. Tony drives it or Joey drives it. And maybe even connect, maybe just leave it as that, where you can kind of connect with people and see where they've been. Maybe connect or follow or something like that, but with no feedback mechanism at all. We don't want it to turn into like posting stuff for likes or anything like that. Not that that's wrong. It's just a different space. But being able to connect with people that you physically meet would be a really cool concept, I think, and tie in well. Then, some people like to have a bunch of badges, show everywhere they've been. Some people like to put their favorites on their rig. Some people are really particular about certain aesthetics and maybe don't like the way that a lot of badges look on their rig, and maybe would just want the one that would then connect to that log in the app and everything else to be able to track all the travel. So that's one idea. I definitely have your feedback on that. And the other is moving to a native mobile app. So we've been working on that over the last couple of months. And we've tried to create, you've experimented a little bit with it, Joey, where you don't have to be there to check in. We allow for check-in while you're there, or with a photograph that you took while you're there to kind of verify your location. And this can be more or less popular depending on the group that you're talking to. You can just say you were there with the honor system, and
Yeah, honor
we're not
system.
going to we're not going to question you. Like
Right.
believe it or not, that's not actually a major problem. A lot of people aren't saying that they've done trails or places that they
Right.
really haven't done. There's no
Right.
incentive for that. And so we make it really easy to work with, so that the last thing that we want while you're in the middle of a really cool trail, having a great experience, is for you to have to pull your phone out to check in. If maybe
Yeah.
you're laying down in your tent, you want to capture a moment from the day and write a little something about that, that's great. But we want to minimize that. So we haven't needed to develop a native app as of yet. But we got a lot of folks asking for the ability to check in offline.
Hmm.
Where they're at, maybe later at night, or that's just part of their workflow. And that's a native app's really the only way that you can do that, since connectivity is so sparse in some of the areas that we travel. So
Hmm.
those two things are kind of areas that we're looking at, in addition to that adventure log v2 with the journaling and companions who you've traveled with. We think that's a really cool feature. So you can keep track of, we used to travel with these guys, and we went to these places, and in this other group, and we traveled kind of differently with those guys, and family and pets and all of that. Right? It's kind of fun to keep track of all that. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
any
I like
thoughts?
that.
Anything sound cooler or not cool? Or
I like it.
I love the vehicle one for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Back years and years and years ago when we were going to FJ Summit, I was there the first year and I met so many people, because I had an FJ Cruiser. Everybody had an FJ Cruiser, and I wanted to connect with these people. And so I would try to get people's names, and I was trying to write all this stuff down. Well, they had printed their own business cards, had their name, their social media. And so everybody just handed out business cards. And I'm like, that's perfect. I mean, that's genius, so that everybody hand out business cards. And then the QR code thing came out where you can just show it on somebody's phone and you can look at that. So there's all kinds of different ways to do that, but having something on your vehicle is even better, because a lot of times you're not in your vehicle when somebody walks by your vehicle and wants to follow, because a lot of times they don't want to follow you. They want to follow your vehicle, because they're like, oh, this is a cool rig. I want to see where this rig goes, what it does. And so a lot of times you're not even there. So having that available as well, that would be genius. I think it'd be awesome.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah. Another thing that I was thinking, I've got, and I want to talk about this here in a little bit, but for years, the Jeep badges of honor was all there was, and I always saw these badges of honor on all the Jeeps and things like that. And the Toyotas were kind of left out. The Toyotas, the Land Rovers, we've all been left out in the cold. But all we've ever had has been grill badges, something to put on the grill. So I've got a couple from FJ Summit. I've got one for 100,000 miles, one that Jeeps will never have, 200,000 miles, and other things like that.
Just
so
darts.
I mean,
Throwing darts.
just throwing them,
Right,
just throwing
yeah.
them. But what's cool about this is you've brought us under one roof. You've brought us all together. It's not just a Jeep thing, and one that's, the thing that has always just ticked me off. So for so many years, is that all the trails out west, they call them Jeep trails, and they're not Jeep trails; they're off-road trails, but they call them Jeep trails, and they've had the Jeep trails and the Jeep badges. They've had everything. And here we've had nothing. And so I love how you're kind of bringing everybody together and creating something that we all can use. And I love that. So
I appreciate it. Yeah.
what I would like, and what I'm thinking about making is a wall of honor to put all the badges on my wall at home, like decoration. I was into Rode Harley Davidsons for years, and they have the poker chips. So every time you visited a dealership, they would have a poker chip, and then they created these poker chip wall things where you put all the poker chips in there, and you would hang it up, and people could see everywhere you've been. And this is kind of the same thing. If you have something in your home, you invite people to, they can see everywhere you've been. If a lot of people, like you said, don't want 100 badges crammed all over their vehicle, but if you had a place in your home to put the badges up, that would be cool. You could post that, and that's what I've been thinking about doing. So
Yeah, my
I
wife.
just put mine on the headliner.
Oh yeah,
Headliner.
yeah,
Yeah, headliner.
that works great too. Um, we do at our house. I've got actually a little sample of it here with a slightly larger frame. So if you notice, this is a picture of me on Black Bear Pass the first time that we were there. You
Yeah.
see, I'll take it off the wall. This is a live demo, so it could go.
Oh, world
Could
premiere.
go.
World premiere.
Yeah. Here we go. All right. So we do this on our adventure wall downstairs sometimes. So this is a photograph on Black Bear Pass. We'll actually take the badges, and you can order them this way with the surround separated or not. So if you look at Tony's badge, it's ready to go on the vehicle for that.
Right.
You can
Right.
order it online with the metal faceplate separated from the plastic. So you have a few more custom
Okay.
mounting
Okay.
options. And
Right.
so we'll actually put them in a frame like this. I can't get super close to my camera,
There you go.
but it looks fantastic. You put it on the mat underneath the glass, and it really has almost like a museum feel. And we'll put that on
Yeah.
our adventure wall, which is a way to document, the date and
Yeah.
the place and a picture. A lot of times with a smaller frame than this, because we've got a bunch of them up there. But it's sort of the same vibe as what you were describing, but with a little bit more context from the photograph as well.
Right.
And
Right.
that works really
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
We do
see,
the
I
same thing when we
didn't
sell
know
a rig. We'll take the badges off the rig and
that.
put a photograph. Like we sold a camper trailer last year and did this. We had gotten about 6 new states in that camper, and so we put that in a frame along with the badges and a photo of the camper and put that on the adventure wall, kind of as a fun way
Mm.
to remember that rig and where we took it.
It's a great
So,
idea.
yeah, I want your opinion on this because this has always been a hot topic with my Jeep friends.
Sure.
So with the badges, do the badges follow the person or the badges follow the rig?
I guess I don't know that there's a right and a wrong there. I can tell you what
Yeah.
we do.
Okay.
Generally, anytime we get a new vehicle, I start from scratch myself and only add the badges to that vehicle, for places that I've been. Sometimes, if it's a camper, it's like everywhere we go. If it's like my Jeep, it's my favorites, that we've been
Mm-hmm.
to in that
Mm-hmm.
Jeep, trails and stuff. I really add the badges to my rig for the purposes of fantastic conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an easy way to start a conversation in any parking lot that you'll be at or any campground, because folks come up and look. They want to see where you've been. They want to see if it's similar to someplace they've been or someplace they haven't heard of. So I think that's the most fun thing, just in terms of encouraging and inspiring adventure, in terms of reasons for putting the badges on the side of the vehicle.
Hmm.
That's one of the main reasons behind that concept of maybe we could do a vehicle badge and get badges on even more vehicles, even for folks that maybe don't want to do as many. Again, for the purposes of just starting conversation,
Yeah.
being friendly with each other. So we always keep the badges to the rig that they were earned in or traveled to in, and then we'll typically remove those when we sell it to somebody else, because they're not interested in it,
Right.
interested in
Right.
our accomplishments, and they want to start with theirs,
Right.
and we'll keep them. Some folks like to keep the badges for every place they've been, regardless of what vehicle they might have gone there in.
Mm-hmm.
That can really add up to a lot of space, so we
Yeah.
don't typically do that. But
Like
I'm
like
not going to judge.
Matt's the bedside of his whole Gladiator
The
is
whole
like covered.
bedside. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Well,
guy has been an impressive number of places, like,
You're not
the
kidding.
conversations that you can have on either side of that truck bed are pretty fantastic.
Pretty amazing. I love also what you've done and not just done trails. You have trails on your
Mhm.
website. You can search by name or state. You have national parks, you have off-road parks, national forest, state parks, and you also have events. And sounds like
That's right.
you've also done some special occasion things like for Matt and Kira's pup that passed away. So that's pretty amazing what you've got into with that. Now, is this going? Is this is all roads taken compared to what you thought or what you dreamed it would be in the beginning? Is it kind of going how you've envisioned it, or is it taken to? Is it went off into something you never dreamed it would?
There's this saying in the software business and I believe in other lines of business as well, that no product ever survives its first encounter with a customer. which is kind of a funny phrase, right? But it's honestly never what you think it's going to be exactly.
Yeah.
I think initially we thought looking back, we've had great momentum and a great, uptake. Initially, it was probably less than we thought it would be. We
Mm.
thought everybody would be really excited to have an alternative, to have sort of a program like this. And I think, I tend to blame myself for that. I think we weren't as good at explaining it,
Yeah.
explaining the concept of the badges and the log and how it works together and how it drives this adventure. And as we've gotten better at that, it's been much easier to talk to new folks. One of the things that I underestimated was the importance of local events. So
Mm.
we do a tremendous number of event badges now because we partner with folks to do those. And those are really important experiences for folks. They've got their local
Mhm.
communities. They do events together. We do a lot of, and this is just for awareness if it's not clear on our website, but we do custom events as well. So, maybe a
The
a
Go
trail group,
Explore
an
one.
off-road group,
Yeah.
or go
Yeah.
Yeah,
explore.
I've got to go
That
explore
was
with
my
Ken.
first one, was the Go Explore.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was-
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll work with folks that do guided trips like that, or that maybe have a club or a group that has a special trip every year. We'll work with manufacturers who do like a customer appreciation event or something like that. And what's cool about that is that it's an important experience for the customer or for the group member or whatever that may be. And not only can we do a badge for that, but as part of that, we can also make sure that that's part of the catalog for folks to add to their adventure log on the app side, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
you get a way to add like your Glacier National Park experience right next to your Rendezvous in the Ozarks experience or your Overland
Mm.
of America experience. And that's what that's really been a surprise for me. And I think it's so cool. We just initially went in kind of thinking about the big targets in our minds, which were Yellowstone or Imogene
Mm.
or those types of things.
Mhm.
And folks have enjoyed that. But what's even more special a lot of times are the events where people are getting together and camping and spending a weekend together and all of that. So that's been cool to see. And we definitely got that wrong at the beginning. We wouldn't have thought that was as big of a deal. So that's a little bit, I guess,
Yeah.
of first contact with the customer. And you're always trying to make things easy to use. So your feedback on how easy it was to
Yeah.
get signed up and navigate, man, that's really helpful. I appreciate that feedback. Software on that side is hard, to
Yeah,
try to
I'm
make
sure.
it as easy as it can be to
I'm sure.
navigate. So that's great
Yeah.
feedback.
Yeah, and I like what you're doing, thinking about, people being able to check in when they're offline, because a lot of companies don't think about that. You have to do so much preparation before you go wherever you go. Like if you're using Gaia, if you're using, any of the other stuff, you have to download where you're going to go before you go, because
Right.
everywhere we go, there's no service everywhere. And
Right.
so being able to do anything offline, or being able to take a picture and upload that later, to prove that you were there, say that you were there, or just do it on the honor system, like you said, that's huge. Because if you require somebody to be at that particular moment, and that's what I get most frustrated with apps, is you have to be right there at that particular moment before you get credit for anything, or anything like that. Being able to do that later at a time is going to ease and minimize that frustration that people have, and keep people
Right.
going. And I'm glad
Exactly.
that you're thinking
That's
about
our
that.
thought. Yeah. Thank you. And just to make sure for folks that are listening and for you guys that it's clear, one of the other keys and why we did that is because we didn't want you to have to redo everything you've already done. So when you
Mm,
go in and start building your adventure log, you can go back as far as you want. If you went to Rocky Mountain National Park for the first time in 1985, like you can add those things to your adventure log and build it back. It doesn't have to start from today.
yeah.
And for me, that was one of the key parts that had to be there from day one. Is you have to be able to build backwards to be able to create that map of all the places that you've been. Otherwise, it's underwhelming. It's still cool to start from today, but not nearly as powerful as seeing that big map from 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's cool. Also on your website, you have a way to contact you. You have a lot of disclaimers because of everybody that's able to post on your website. I know that you have several different partners. Many of our good friends are on there. You list all their partners that you partner up with. I did notice that you do not have an official podcast on there, so you may think about that. So
Love to
anyway,
have it. Yeah. Yeah, of
and that,
course.
throw that out there. But anyway, how can we keep up you? With you? Where are you going to be in the coming months?
So, in the same way that the industry kind of goes to bed a bit for the winter, we really try to focus our winter post fall through very very early spring activities on uh, building new relationships,
Mm.
getting set up for really the season to kick off the camping season next year. So we're going to be working heavily with some really exciting things. Um, can't really share details, but we're working heavily with some national park organizations to get into
Mm.
their stores and be part of that program.
Oh,
We're
that's
working
awesome.
really closely with a number of states to work on providing a badge program and a passport program for their state parks, which is really cool, and I think
Mm.
going to be a fun thing
Yeah.
for folks. And we're hoping that this year will be a great example for us to get some anchor tenants in both of those spaces that we can then expand on through the rest of 25. We'll also be really doubling down with less travel on getting the Adventure Log V2 out and the native mobile
Mm.
application out on the technology side, so that we're rocking and rolling and ready to go for folks kicking off adventures in spring and even some of the winter campouts and stuff that happen
Good.
there. We want to be ready for that. So
Yeah.
we won't be too many places um, in the winter, but a lot of it is just because things dry up there. So
Yeah.
keep following up with us on certainly online.
Hmm.
I'll be the first to share with you. I don't think we're great at social media, just to be honest with you. You guys are great. We are not great yet. So we're kind of learning that side, and we're also trying to make sure that we're sharing really cool content and not too much that's not valuable for folks.
Yeah.
One thing that you may see, and you can go back and look at on our feed, is that we've been doing an adventure highlight, and we
Hmm.
do one of those every week. And those can be across the board. So we just did a great one on some hiking opportunities in Colorado. We've done a lot of overlanding highlights with some of our customers and connections. Um, and I say that because if you guys have one, if folks that are listening have an adventure that they'd like to highlight, think about it in terms of sharing that adventure with folks so that it's much more accessible for them to replicate in some sort of way. That's what we're trying to target with the adventure highlight. Break it down, turn it into a little bit more than just a pretty picture,
Mm.
and talk about how you approached it, where you went, what some of your itinerary was, some of the cool places that you visited, how long you took to get there, those sorts of aspects. And that's what you'll see when you look back at that content in our feed. And what I hope is that that's content that's not incredibly frequent for folks, but is really valuable when they see it,
Mm.
and helps kind of encourage what we're trying to encourage with the business as well. So follow up on those and definitely reach out to us through the website or through social media if you have some story that you want to share, and we'd be happy to partner with you on it, organize it kind of into our framework, and then co-post those things on social media to maybe get some attention to a trip that you want to provide some attention to,
Yeah.
expand it to our network, really just kind of share that story and make it accessible for other folks to do some of the same, which is the goal. That's the goal, right?
You're
Get
right.
more folks outside, enjoying it, taking care of it, and building those memories.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I want to encourage everybody to go, if you're on Instagram, All Roads Taken Official is the site there. And if you have and go on adventures where you do have your badges or do want to share some of the stuff on All Roads Taken, make sure that you tag them. And you do collaborate a lot with people that do that. I noticed that. So quite a bit of that going on. You do have a Facebook page where people are able to keep up with you there, and also on the website, allroadstaken.com. Find a badge
Absolutely.
and tell about your adventures. It's easy to do, and everybody should do it. Man, we have entered into the end of the podcast. I greatly appreciate you taking time away from your family to come on here and visit with us and let us get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit
Bet.
more about the ins and outs and behind the scenes, and really enjoyed that. It's good to get to know people a little better. So we really appreciate you doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we should find another opportunity to have a campfire together and camp again. This time
Definitely,
it's
we're not that far. We're
a
not
little
that
more
far
free
from each
time
other.
this time
Yeah.
maybe than the event would be great.
Yeah, exactly. Last time we were busy, and a lot of stuff was going on during that. So
You bet.
anyway, everybody that's listening, Tony, man, your stuff looks good. Your new showroom or whatever you've got back there, all your stuff looks really good. Appreciate you working hard on that,
Yeah, thank you.
putting your badge on there and really repping the all roads taken. My all roads taken is stuck on the back of my FJ stuff, so I couldn't get out there tonight to show it. So
Oh,
anyway,
fantastic.
yeah. Well, I hope everybody has gotten as much out of this as I have. This is something completely new to a lot of us, and it's great to get to know a little bit more about it. That there's a little bit more to it than what we see on the surface. So I hope everybody goes to the website, checks it out, get you a badge, and get out there and go on an adventure. That's what it's all about. I hope everybody has a wonderful week. We're signing off on the Overland podcast. This has been Joey and Tony. Tyler, thank you again for being on here. Hope everybody has a wonderful week. Good to see y'all. And here, as I always say at the end of every show, look out for number one and don't step for number two. We're out.